When I got done, I sat down in the chair over there and I was looking up down this wall and admiring my work and thinking about some of these things. I decided to make a video, and I'm just going to call it the East Wall. It's an old wooden barrel. I think it says something about Seymour Dairy or something on it. It's got some old crusty paint on it and some good colors and some rust, and it's just got a lot of character. My great grandkids, and if you said go in there in the Sojourner room and get such and such a thing, and it's in the barrel or it's near the barrel that's got the balls and the gloves, and they'd know exactly where to go, because the young kids, that barrel's been sitting in that corner most of their lives, or all their lives maybe. Next thing I want to talk about is I go down that wall, and you probably saw some other things as I went past it that you've seen in other videos. There's a picture of Roy Ward, and I think David Cosner's in the picture, and me, and some people at a place called Pat O'Brien's in New Orleans. Then there's a coffee box sitting there. I don't remember when I bought that, but I remember where I bought it. We were at summer basketball for the B&L girls, and they were playing in some kind of an event that was happening up on the Butler campus, and we were up there watching the girls play basketball, and in between games, Betty and I went down to an antique shop there close to the Butler campus, and we went in there looking around, killing some time between games, and I saw that A&P box in there. Man, I liked that thing, but boy, it had a price on it that about choked me. And we looked around, started to leave, and I said, Betty, I can't leave here without trying to buy an A&P box. I really like that thing, so I'm going to make an offer that's more than really I want to give, but trying to be fair, not lowball them too bad. I'm going to make them an offer, and they're probably not going to take it, but if they do, I'm going to buy that box. So I went back in, and I made the guy an offer, and he called the person that owned the box, and they took my offer. I bought that up there in Carmel or Noblesville, somewhere in that area around Butler, and there it sits, and I'm really fond of it. That thing right next to it is a Hard Times original, and there's already a video about that back in there somewhere. Something that I built out of some old drawers. Not going to waste time talking about it. Also right there's what we call the quail lamp. And my great-grandkids think that lamp's worth $1 million. And they think that because I told them it was. And that was in a speech I was giving them about being careful when they're playing around it, because I don't want that thing broke. And nobody can afford to pay me what it's worth, so don't break my quail lamp. Sometimes they get pretty rowdy over around it anyway, and I have to remind them about how much it's worth. And they don't get any less rowdy usually. They just move over there somewhere else and get away from it. Hanging on it is a whistle, and used to be the whistle that hung there belonged to Mike Bridwell. I bought it at an auction that Sandra had after Mike died. I bought it, a lot of things that were Mike's. One of the things I bought was actually two of his whistles. The whistle that used to be there was Mike Bridwell's, and this is one of those shrill whistles. If you watch those other videos, you'll know that Mike he wore the ball out in a whistle trying to get Lum to behave, and Lum never did pay any attention to it. But my dog, he would come back to me, and he'd get about paranoid over coming into that whistle. Mike blew it so much, so Because I had a little shrill whistle that sounded about the same as Mike's whistle, and I decided that I was going to get me a different whistle, one that had a different tone, one that my dog could tell the difference in it and Mike's, and I bought that thing. It's called an Acme Thunder. I bought that whistle when I had him, so every bird dog I ever had's come to that whistle. After I decided to give Mike's whistle to his grandson, I hung my whistle on that lamp. I got what I call my Lonesome Dove collection hanging there, and I've made 2 or 3 of those. I think Brett's got one. I sold 1 or 2 Peddler's Corner when I had an antique booth in there. Old barn doors where I took a router and incised the Lonesome Dove. The dove that was, picture of it was on the bar. The bar was called the Dry Bean and had that dove on the front of it. And I reproduced that and put it on barn doors. And like I said, Brett bought one of them from me, and I sold a couple more. And that one there, it's the only one I got left, and there it hangs. Next to it is a map that maps the Lonesome Dove Trail that they followed from Lonesome Dove up to the place they went to in Montana. Amy gave me that for my birthday one time, and I made a frame for it, and framed it and hung it on the wall there. That big box, wow, look at that box. That box is 6 foot long. It's got a divider in it about, I don't know, a third of the way from one end. So it's about a 1/3, 2/3 space inside it. The thing's got great dovetail corners. That box is just it's middle to late 1800s and just a splendid example of a box from that era. I don't know what it was for, whether it was something used in the house. I suspect it was probably a grain bin kind of a thing where they fed animals out of it, but it could be used for lots of things now. It's full of stuff right now. If I sold it, I'd have a mess in the floor. But I envision it at the foot of a king-size bed. You could put that thing at the foot of the king-size bed, and you could put all your linens and your quilts and your blankets in that thing. And you'd even have room to put your sweaters and your sweatsuits and stuff like that in the summertime. And then in the wintertime, you could take them out and put your shorts and your little halter tops and stuff in there, your summer clothes, and use it like that. There's all kinds of things you could use it for. If you didn't have it at the foot of the bed, you'd need a big room because it'd overwhelm the room. But in a big room or out on a long porch or something, that thing would look magnificent. That red thing sitting there, that's an old, it's about the same age as that box, I'd guess. Late 1800s, made out of yellow poplar. Underneath that red paint that I put on it, it's got some old green-gray paint or remnants of it. The door, I made the door and the drawer, they were gone when I bought it, but little kind of a crock shelf or crock bench that I turned into a cabinet. I wouldn't call it a Hard Times original because it's more a restoration of something that was already built and already old. But it's for sale too. On top of it's a phonograph record. One crank the handle and turn it loose and it plays records. It's supposed to have a big horn on it, but the horn wasn't with it when I bought it. I've looked for a horn for it, but I haven't found one that would fit it that I could afford. Now we get to this pie safe sitting behind me, and that's a Bedford Pie Safe. It's going to appear in another video when I make the last Bedford Pie Safe videos, or what I think is going to be the last Bedford Pie Safe videos. That one's one that I bought. It looked pretty much like that when I bought it. I've done some work on it. It had a bad case of dandruff, and I had to take a lot of the white paint that was on it off down to where I could get the paint that was sticking on there good, and then I put a sealer over it, and I'm going to leave what's left of the paint on it, all except for the tins. And I tried to strip those tins, and when I started, I intended to have them spotless clean, just like the ones that's in the Grandma Betty Pie Safe that Aunt Colleen stripped. And she tells a story about stripping that, and I tell you, I worked 3 weeks on those 6 tins right there. I worked 3 weeks trying to get the paint off of them. And I'd say if I got those as clean as Aunt Colleen got the ones that's in Betty's Pie Safe, if I got them as clean as Aunt Colleen got them, I'd have to work another year to get that off of there. There's paint down in them holes. I counted them holes, and I can't remember how many. There's over 3,000 holes in those 6 tins, and then there's something like, I don't know, 1,200 slots, something like that. I got the number written down over there. I should have looked at it before I started making this video, but it doesn't matter. There is a ton of holes and slots in there, and they still got little bits of white paint in them. Even after I worked on them 3, I finally gave up. Aunt Colleen just had a lot more patience than I did. And there it sits. Over my other shoulder there's you've seen a video probably about that pie safe too. It's got hand punch tins in it, and I made those out of some barn roof. But it's not going to go into detail about it either. There's already a video about it, because I got that from, me and Brett and Betty went up there one day to help Clint, and I got that from Clint. Made a video about that trip. And over in the corner there's a cherry corner cupboard. It's actually 2 pieces. The top sits off. It's still, you got to have some help to handle it. Even in 2 pieces, it's heavy. And it's for sale too. The only thing probably that's not for sale here, other than that thing Amy gave me for my birthday, is this pie safe right here. This one right here, I mean, don't come out here expecting to buy it either, because I don't want to sell it. So you'd have to pay probably more than it's worth to own it. I don't think I'd sell it. But I won't say just flat that I won't. The Hard Times Chronicles, that's the name of my YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to it, subscribe to it. When I aggravate you, then you can unsubscribe. Doesn't cost you a thing. Subscribe to the channel, Hard Times Chronicles.